This is New England Newsmakers with Sarah Zapp.
Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for joining us. The world of retirement is changing. Tonight, you get a look at some of the newest studies and trends that will affect your retirement. Sure, maybe more travel, golf, or nice dinners out are what you're really hoping for as you wave goodbye to the confines of a regular Monday to Friday work week. But hold on, the picture is about to change. Whether you're living it now or maybe are decades away, what's in store is looking pretty different. Tonight we'll explain a whole new trend in retirement that will keep you working, the best jobs in New England for those retirement days, how to personalize and plan for what will work for your retirement. But first up, the results are in from a first-of-its-kind study out of Harvard University looking at the future of retirement. More specifically, what's in store for baby boomer women. With us now is Paul Hodge, the chair for the Global Generations Policy Institute and director for Harvard's Generations Policy Project. Welcome to the show. First-of-its-kind study here. What made you think baby boomer women are in trouble, and just how in trouble are they, you think?
Well, our research showed that of more than 50% of the retiring baby boomer population, which is now 78 million, on around about 45 million plus, are baby boomer women, and a lot of them have not accumulated enough assets or income to support themselves in retirement. We thought that this was a very special issue which must be brought to the attention of the nation.
And you know, the title is Secure Futures or Not. How much control do you think a woman needs to start thinking about right now in terms of how they're going to end up in their later years? Because a lot of them are just trying to get through day to day, let alone think maybe what maybe 2 years ahead, maybe 20, 30 years ahead.
Well, the sooner the better, and that goes for men and women, because it turns out that we're going to be living a lot longer than we all think we're going to be living. Right now, we're kind of projecting that the present average age in the United States population is 78. 10 years from now, probably be on around about 85. 20 years from now, it'll be about 88. So people are going to be living longer. You have to plan for a longer horizon. That's in terms of plus and minuses.
What's been the most surprising or startling thing you found about baby boomer women and the prospects of retirement as you were doing this first-of-its-kind study?
I think the most startling thing is that a lot of women are unaware of their financial futures and their retirement futures, and unaware of what they have to really do to start protecting themselves and making it so that they can ensure that they have a dignified, great future.
You mean they just have no idea how much money they're going to need to live on for retirement? They have no idea what their true assets are? That kind of awareness?
Yes, yeah. And that's it's very surprising, but that's what seems to be going on out there. And our effort is the first of its kind effort to try to start the dialogue and getting people to be aware of this.
What's the message? What do you want to try to shake up to policymakers and even, you know, baby boomers out there themselves?
Well, the message is the future's now, and the best thing to do is to start saving now and start considering what your financial prospects are going to be for your retirement years and what you really want for your retirement years. Not from a negative perspective. Not that you're supposed to be scared about the future, but from an abundance perspective, about what type of abundance do I want in my older years.
You know, the great thing about this study is you also take a look a lot of answers and solutions versus just saying, hey, we've got a problem here. And I want to take a look at some of those that you really suggest that women should take a look at. One of them is work longer. That obviously, if you have that luxury, have the ability, will bring in more money. Establish an earning records early. Seek out pension plans or employer-sponsored plans. Take into account present and future real estate values. Those are some actual hardcore things maybe someone can almost make a checklist of. What would you add to that, or what other things would you say are important for women to do?
Well, I would just emphasize certain things which are going on right now. For example, we've experienced a tremendous increase in the value of housing. I think a lot of Americans are viewing the equity in their house, if they've experienced it, especially on both coasts, as some type of cushion for their retirement years. And until somebody actually sells their house and takes the equity out, it really is an expectation and not a reality. So don't plan your income or don't plan your retirement years around with the equity in your house, because real estate is like anything else. It goes through cycles. It'll be up, it'll be down, it'll be back up. But so you have to be very aware of that. That's a big thing.
All right, we're going to continue talking about this when we come back. Kind of a look at the new retirement trend. Scale back, work on. Stay with us. Traditional retirement age is about to bring about anything but a traditional way of spending the next few decades. New trends show it's all about easing into retirement, part-time or maybe scaled back jobs, working longer, even finding new options for earning income. It's a future picture that should have employers as well as employees taking notice. Joining us now, Todd Harris, the Director of Research at PI Worldwide, who's taking a look at these trends, and still with us, Paul Hodge, the Director for Harvard University's Generations Policy Project. What's happening, Paul? Why is this traditional idea kind of going out the window? And your study and others are waving a red flag saying it's going to be a different picture, folks.
Well, I think for different portions of the populations, there are different reasons. The top 1/3, for example, who are financially secure, don't really view themselves as sitting in front of TV sets for the retirement years and have interest in doing a lot of other different things, whether it becomes social entrepreneurs or getting involved in the community and things along those lines. The bottom 1/3 is in the financial situation where they're probably going to have to work to supplement the Social Security benefit. And the middle 1/3 is got their foot one in and one out, and they're going to be trying to figure out how they're going to supplement, treat their retirement.
So, Todd, what does this mean for employers out there? All of a sudden, they're faced with more and more baby boomers retiring, a possible shortage of skilled workers. What are they to do? What should they be starting to look at now?
Well, they certainly should be addressing the issue as soon as possible, because if you just look at it from a demographic numbers perspective, with the sheer amount of retirements over the next 10 to 15 years or so, employers are going to be kind of running off of a demographic cliff, which is especially consequential now because we live in a workforce that really puts a premium on talent and experience, knowledge, customer relationships, stuff that retirees will be leaving with. So what we typically recommend to clients is to start putting plans in place now from a human resources perspective, and things like recruiting, training, and so forth.
Like what? Like maybe start to offer part-time jobs, look to find a way to bring people back in consulting sorts of roles? That's the sort of advice?
Yeah, there's a couple of keys. The first one is building a climate and a culture that really appreciates experience, knowledge, expertise, and sends that signal to the workforce. The other thing is really flexibility, and be willing to work with baby boomers on their terms to bring them back in more consultative types of roles, and having that flexibility is important.
I want to kind of take a look at some different pointers. Reasons not to retire, right away from USA Today. It pays to work, obviously. Hold on to the money. There's a possible future shortage of qualified workers. You could be needed. Boost your physical and mental health as well, keeping you active and sharp there. Marriage may even profit from a little less togetherness is actually an interesting one. A way to stay connected, and that you can also use this as a new beginning for different opportunities, kind of like we've touched on, and a way to add meaning later on to your life. What do you think in terms of that when someone starts to think, I may need money, I'm going to be okay, is my future secure or not? Questions that they should be asking themselves and preparing for, Paul.
Well, I think that people really have to start taking an inventory of what they really expect or what they really would like in their retirement years, and constantly reevaluate that.
Now, when you say
process.
that, do you mean when you turn 64? When you turn 34?
I think the earlier the better. If the earlier the better. Certainly in the 50s, in your 50s, your early 50s. You should start doing it then. Now, people can, in terms of savings policies and how you're planning your savings, people will say you should be starting to save in your 30s, but to supplement your incomes down the line. But the earlier the better.
What do you think, Todd, from an employer perspective? Start changing the mindset a little bit now, but what about employees, people who want to try to get back in? Is there a way that they can approach employers? Is there a way that they can kind of take advantage of this new changing situation that's in front of them?
Well, I think that there is, and that any of the types of skills and abilities and knowledge that conceivably could make for a good employee at any stage of one's life can still be relevant. And if you can find organizations that really promote and respect the contributions of mature workers, to the workforce, that's certainly something that would be a reasonable path to pursue.
What about policy changes? Out of this study, for example, what are a couple of things that maybe should become law, things that we should take a look at? Some suggestions, Paul?
Well, I think the key thing for women is that in terms of the Social Security system, we should really take a look at giving them credit for taking care of, in the years that they're out of the workforce, taking care of children, or taking care of their elder parents.
Those homemaking years, caregiving years.
Right, they're contributing to our society, and it's critical that they get some type of credit for it, because right now, because they drop out of the workforce, they don't get the same type of Social Security benefit because they haven't been in it as long as the men, and they interrupt their work cycles. Now in Europe, they're experimenting with this, and I think it's going to be pretty prevalent in Europe.
And I know you've kind of given some employer suggestions. Start looking now, coming up with sorts of game plans. Maybe it's kind of a wake-up call for them to start taking an inventory of what they've got and what's going to be right around the corner. Is that what you're thinking?
Yes, and that looking at it from a human resources perspective, thinking about who you're recruiting, where you're recruiting, how you're doing it, what types of messages, because a more mature worker might respond to a different message than a younger worker. Training is certainly a huge issue. One of the things that the research demonstrates is that oftentimes older workers don't get the same level of training as younger workers. So if companies can send that message that regardless of your age, you should be updating your skills and you're valued, it's really a cultural and climate issue within a particular company.
Well, thank you very much, Todd. Paul, greatly
Thank you.
appreciate your time. And coming up, the best companies in New England for those 50 and over. Stay with us.